In the silence. Okay. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You know, here we are on this ball. And there's another ball hanging up there in the sky. That's where the earth ends, right there. And this is where the heavens start. We have a short space of time here, and then we go into the ground. People shed a tear, and they go off to Starbucks and have a coffee. So it's very important to make it as meaningful as you can. And it's moments like this that you have to use to become fluent in finding meaning and beauty and significance.
Can I throw a flip side to that?
Please.
Maybe there just isn't.
Well, what you got here? Is what you got here not a beautiful thing?
It is, but whether it's got any meaning or anything like that, ultimately the universe is going to end up so far spread apart it becomes completely black, completely cold. Where's the meaning in that?
If it doesn't have meaning, to be honest, that's just as mysterious, and it doesn't have to be negative.
Should we do this? Should we both go ahead of her so she falls on us?
How come you've got grip?
I haven't got grip.
Look at my socks.
Have you got grip?
No, I haven't, but I'm all right. Yeah.
Once again, despite the risk to her own personal safety, Aisha is determined to stick to her religious principles.
Because this is a particular situation where I think it might be permissible for you to lurch out and grab in case you fell. Do you think so?
Well, it can be. I'd just rather not, if I can avoid it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's noble, but, you know, we don't want to get happy. You know what I mean? Hey, Abdullah, did you hear about the Saudi girls' school?
The King Fahd? Or...
No, the one that got burnt down because men couldn't go in there to put the fire out. Did you hear about that?
No. Are you kidding? I thought it was a joke.
No, it was true. It's true.
The group arrives back in time for Maghrib, the sunset prayer. Then, after dinner, the men and women part company for a specific dhikr known as the wadifa. While Azim and Simon join the men in the mosque, Mudassir heads back up to his new office at the top of the minaret.
Sam, how you doing, Rosa? You alright? Hey, you guys should come out here. Seriously, it's a cool place. I mean, if you want to get away from it all. It's not the sort of thing I'd do, but, you know, you might be into it.
Meanwhile, the women's wadifa is in full swing. Literally, the chant means, he is he. It's the culmination of the wadifa and intended as a gateway to the divine. The ecstatic state achieved by Shanaz is known as hal. It is something neither Aisha, Khadija nor Pom have encountered before.
I should just explain maybe the hal. When you invoke Allah by His names, by His name Allah, His greatest name, when we remember Him, the heart becomes moved. And the heart can't contain Allah. And its inability to contain Allah results in a physical movement which manifests on the outward limbs. That's what hal is. And they say that it's a rising of the soul when its desire to connect to the source and the sadness it feels to have to return.
So when you were in that state, did you feel that maybe your soul possibly even left you?
No, not at all.
Oh, right, okay.
Hal means to be present, to be truly present. The only thing that really is present is Allah. So when you're in a state of hal, you're present to the only thing that really exists, which is God. So I'm very much, one in a state of hal is very much present. More so probably than at other time.
Back in the privacy of their rooms, the women share their true feelings about what they've just witnessed.
I think we feel that that sort of, invocation of Allah and the reaction to it is something that should be done in private and not in a congregational situation.
My question would be, did the Prophet, peace be upon him, do this? Was this something that he did? Or that all the women, the companions of the Prophet's wives, was this something that they did?
I'm very sure that when I get home and I explain to Rashid that this is what we've been doing, he'll be standing and shaking his head and saying, you know, I'm not sure about this.
Without you two questioning this, I would just assume it's all kosher, although it's obviously completely inappropriate term. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm so glad we had this came up, because I've been completely ignorant. I just am going along to everything very
Abdullah, Shanaz and the other Muslims on the retreat are all Sufis, whose focus on the mystical relationship with God is viewed with suspicion by some. Abdullah believes their practices fall clearly under the umbrella of classical Islam, but some of the group question whether what's on offer at the retreat is bid'ah, a deviation from the Quran. To nip any anxieties in the bud, Abdullah calls a meeting to address their concerns head-on.
I understand that there's some doubts amongst some of you about the things that we're doing here. So I think it's very important that we get it out on the table and we discuss it. Does anyone want to start?
I think I have a question, because I noticed Pom sitting in the gathering, and she's somebody who's obviously non-Muslim and who doesn't have any preconceived ideas as such. But the reaction that it sort of seemed to have invoked in her was she was tapping her feet. And I was thinking, well, you know, if this is a form of worship, and there was actually clapping of the hands going on, and again, clapping of the hands to me is more associated with celebration, like maybe Eid or a wedding, or, you know, that's all your sort of an enjoyment, really.
From the outside, I don't see that there's a problem with it, with worshipping God as being something that shouldn't be
enjoyed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't enjoy worshipping Allah, but
I would hope so, actually.
Yeah, but I'm questioning the reaction.
All I'm saying is that there may be different ways of expressing the worship of God.
Allah has prescribed for us to live as closely the life of our Prophet ﷺ, as we possibly can. And is it something that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would actually have done?
Exactly.
In congregation?
But to me, you see, Khadija, I couldn't care less.
Right, okay.
And I'm going to go a little bit further here. I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm sitting for 3 hours in the morning, about a total of 2.5 hours in the evening. And I'm chanting the name of God over and over. I'm saying, La ilaha illallah, I'm reading some Quran, I'm doing this. Is that bad?
The Prophet, he was who we should emulate. We follow him in the way he walked, the way he spoke, the way he conducted himself. So in each and every manner he came to perfect Islam. So surely he would have taught us the best manner to worship Allah more than any other human being that ever came.
Listen, somebody's reciting the Quran a lot. Somebody's chanting the name of God a lot. Is that a bad thing? Whether the Prophet did it or the Prophet didn't do it.
Yeah, it could be, because we have to draw a line somewhere, because then we could go in time in the future, in another 400 years, in another 500 years, where are we going to be? Maybe we may have moved so away from how...
Actually, I think what we have to do is we each have to draw the line ourselves.
Yeah, aside from the basic principles within Islam, which defines you as a Muslim, which are the 5 pillars, which is something you must do, that's fine. But aside from that, why must anybody define how I worship the Almighty? That's my connection with Him.
And at the end of the day, it's your free will to do what you think and what you see inside is best for you, in terms of your praise of God. And it's not for you to judge or anybody else to judge. The only person who's going to judge at the end of the day is God or Allah or whoever. And, you know, if you've done the right things in terms of what you think is correct, then, you know, God will judge you accordingly.
The debate rumbles on for almost 2 hours. But for Azim, at least, the answer is simple.
All religion is good because all of it teaches goodness, doesn't it? So all of it was made clear. It doesn't matter if there's different ways of actually teaching Islam or there's different ways of teaching religion. It's all good. So that's what was made clear.
To Abdullah, Aisha's rigid approach is disappointing, but not a surprise.
Aisha is indicative of a particular type of Islam which is prevalent in the world today and which is at some odds with the classical traditional position. In my view, it's a superficial, prescriptive, dry, formulaic interpretation of Islam. I guess there is no avoiding this particular question. And this, if you like, this is a microcosm of what's going on in the Muslim world. And in a sense, it's also a microcosm of what's going on within the religious and sacred world altogether. It's the secularization or the rationalization of the spiritual and the religious. And that's really the battle that's being fought here.
For Aisha, it's a fight she's not about to back down from.
Despite trying to be as open-minded as possible, I think I'm finding quite a few of the concepts and the beliefs difficult and uncomfortable because they don't fit with, and I wouldn't say my understanding of Islam, but very much an understanding of Islam that goes across the rest of the Muslim world.
The next day, on the surface at least, it's back to the routine of the retreat, with Aisha, Khadija and Azim doing spiritually uplifting work out in the fields, Simon sanding doors in the mosque, and Madassa checking his emails on the office computer. Pom, meanwhile, is having her first session with Abdullah. Although she has studied analytic psychology and religion to master's level, her late-night discussions with Aisha have left her confused about Islam.
The first kind of proper conversation we had about all of this was me wanting to know, can you not deviate in any way? Can there not be any room for any personal expression? Exactly.
Well, the answer is yes.
Well, the answer I've been given is no. And I found that makes me feel actually kind of claustrophobic. Like,
yeah. Let me qualify that for you. There is the chance for individual expression. And that's really what it's about. It's about you fulfilling your potential. The Prophet said, I came for nothing except refinement of character. That is, if you like, developing the full potential of the human being.
Yeah.
And that's classical Islam. And I think that, forgive me for saying this, I think that Aisha's view of Islam is a series of rules and regulations. You follow the rules, you're going to get rewarded.
Yeah, which is another thing that we were debating about last.
That is, that is not our understanding. Yeah? We're not asking... It's
very prescriptive.
It's very prescriptive. And in some ways that's understandable because some religions, and Islam is now becoming, unfortunately, part and parcel of that. We're getting a standardized, technologized, rational and empirical product here.
Which sometimes might seem to be quite controlling.
Not seen. It is. It is. And I will lay my life down for this. That is not the purpose of religion.
While others have been distracted by debates about religious practice, Azim has remained focused on the spiritual. Azim arrived at the retreat as a non-practicing Muslim with a deep distrust of religion. After less than a week, things are starting